All right, madness. It might be on mute. Sean Brace, Ryan Beef Coyle with you here. Little midweek Sweet 16 catch-up edition. Sponsored by Heinz. Kid. Beef, 16 teams remain. I know that people are a little upset. No Cinderellas, and people are wondering if that's the end of the madness, or are we going to have nothing but chalk for the rest of our lives? I love how we are so panicked as a society, but that's just another discussion for another day. But it's ridiculous. All right, so we've been through 2 years now where we haven't, like, one loss could have went either way. One game could have went either way, and then people would be saying something entirely different. So I don't even want to get caught up, but here I am getting caught up.
We just had in the background the San Diego-Michigan game on in the background, and San Diego had a nice look at the buzzer for 3. They could have easily won that game as well, and they could have beaten Texas A&M. Like you said, it could go one way or another. Freak shot the other night by Derek Queen. Colorado State could have gone to the second weekend. Are the days of 15-seed Princeton from 2 years ago going to the Sweet 16 done? Potentially, but I still think we're going to see these mid-majors year after year be in the mix. But at the end, we have 16 great teams left, and I think that's what matters. And you're going to get some awesome games here down the stretch, and you're going to avoid these 15, 16-seed blowouts in the second weekend, and that's what it's about, getting the best 16 teams, just like the college football playoff, too. It's about getting the best teams in the field, and that's what we have left, probably the best 16 teams in the country.
Exactly. Look, if you told me, or if we were able to get one other upset, I wouldn't be that mad about it. But at the end, here we are. We're going to have 4 games on Thursday, 4 games on Friday. They're going to feature all 4 1 seeds, and they're going to feature 3 out of 4 2 seeds. Mm-hmm. It's perfect in my mind. It's perfect. Yeah, look, if you wanted to give me a VCU or a Cinderella, which would have been, let's say, McNeese. If McNeese got to this point, I'm not mad over Purdue. Okay, cool. But other than that, I'm sure as heck not losing my mind saying that this is the end of Like, come on, man. Do we really have to go that extreme over everything? Because it's clearly not factual. People are paying attention. Everybody says it's the greatest week in sports. That's what they said last week. And now you're going to tell me that it's over because we got all the top dogs advancing? It's just stupid.
Yeah, poor us. We have Duke, Arizona, Maryland, Florida, maybe the highest scoring game in college basketball this season with BYU, Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee, round 3. Poor us, all these bad matchups. No, people would be complaining this time next week that, the Sweet 16 sucked because there were so many blowouts. No, all these games are under 10 points, I think, is every spread. There's going to be some close games, but maybe in this round you get a few upsets. Maybe you get Maryland knocking off Florida with a chance to go to the Final Four for the first time since I was alive, I believe. Maybe you get Arizona knocking off Duke with Caleb Love, another great storyline there. 10-seed Arkansas, who Calipari said the quote a couple of times so far, but they threw us in the coffin. They didn't put the nails in it, though. Mm-hmm. That's a great revival story of what their season was and where it came from. Texas Tech may be going to the Final Four for the second time in 5-6 years with a new coach. You have so many good other storylines to look forward to and to watch instead of sitting back and complaining that you don't have High Point or McNeese State in the Sweet 16.
I'm with you. Find the positivity, and it's not hard to do so. If you really want to dig deep, you could go Beard versus Izzo and that coaching matchup, which is just tremendous. You could talk about, I believe, if Sam Ostry is correct from the score, he said on Monday that this BYU-Bama game could be the highest total in NCAA tournament history.
Yeah.
Why don't you focus on that? Kentucky, Tennessee. Again, like you said, we got the best of the best here. 16 teams, and on top of it, 7 out of the 14 SEC teams remain, which was the best conference all season long. Again, like you said, people want that other conference represented. You want more than just the power, or whatever it may be. I get it, but I'm really satisfied and ready to go for Thursday.
Yeah, and I think it's another really cool storyline, the coaching kind of cycle of, all right, Mark Pope goes to Kentucky, John Calipari goes to Arkansas, Kevin Young at BYU, all 3 of those programs in the Sweet 16 too. There's a lot of storylines in the Sweet 16, and I think that they're all going to be great games. I think I heard you say it earlier, appointment television, and for sure.
Yeah, look, no one's going to miss them no matter what, but there have been times that people have been like, I'll make, I'll get a Friday. I got Friday, Saturday.
Yep.
No, and there were people complaining on Sunday, going, really, I got to do this? Yes!
Yeah.
It's great. This is great. This is what it's all about. And look, there's nothing better than that Thursday, Friday, and of course Saturday and Sunday. But with the 16 teams that are remaining, and Thursday and Friday, those matchups are pretty darn good. Anything else from big picture first? As far as what we just went through with the first weekend, there's so many storylines. For me, it starts with Duke because of how dominant they looked against Baylor, and that was supposed to be a game somewhat. Clearly look like they are the best team. Of course, Auburn in there. That was a nice victory over Creighton. I thought Creighton was going to give a little bit more run for their money in that second half. They did not do so. It's clear that they are, a tier above. Now, the question I would have, I guess, is from the 4 number 1 seeds to the 2s and the 3s, how much of a drop-off is it in your mind? Do these ones stand alone when it comes down to it in your mind? Or is it just, Duke and then everybody else slightly below Duke?
I think all the 2s could give everyone a battle. If it is the 1s versus 2s, obviously St. John's isn't in there as a 2, so it would be Texas Tech or Arkansas versus who is the one in that region? That is one with Florida, if Florida were to make it. But I think Bama could. I think Bama, when they're at their best, I've been saying it all year, when you get Bama's absolute best, it's hard to argue that there's any team better than them. Bama, when they're off, they can be awful. But when they're at their best and they're going out there hitting 23s and scoring 100 points, that's going to be a tough stop, even for Duke. Then you look at Houston. That's going to be a tough matchup, I think, with Purdue. Give credit to Purdue. They played really well in their first 2 tournament games. But I think all the 1 seeds are still vulnerable. I'm not going in there saying that they're all going to dominate, but would it surprise me if we had the 4 1 seeds in there? No, but you still have to get past a tough Michigan State team. You still have to get past this hot Maryland team that seems to kind of have a magic vibe to them. So there's no team I'm walking into this weekend saying like they're going to win, they're going to destroy, they're going to dominate. I think we're in for good games all around, and the spreads reflect that as well. The highest one being Duke -9.5, and then I believe Auburn's 9.5 as well. Everyone thinks it's going to be at least in a single-digit game.
Got some pretty good trends from the folks over at Visa, and we'll hit on those in a little bit. But again, just from the big storylines of that first weekend, not having those upsets. Also, I would say, too, was the fact that, Stuckey put this out from the Action Network, and he's so right because it's just the reality of what it is. If you gave us a game on an island, whether it's in the PM hour or in that midday separation period or even on Saturday and Sunday, people would be saying something entirely different about being bored through those first 2 days, whatever it may be. We didn't have a lot of great, final possession games. But if we did get 1 or 2 of those, everybody's singing a much different tune. The 49th game into the tournament, we got our first buzzer beater, Derek Queen, taking it.
Yeah.
And just what a play. Give me the MF and ball and delivers for Maryland. And like you said, they do have a vibe to them.
Yeah, they definitely do. They're a team that I haven't been fully bought in on the whole year because of the lack of depth. I mean, the crab 5 and everything is fun, but we still haven't seen a game in the tournament yet where they've gotten in some severe foul trouble, where they've been limited. So I still kind of keep that in the back of my head because it's a really deep Florida team and a Florida team that can match them with size in the front court with Hall and with Condon. They've got bodies up there that can match up and certainly have the guards to match up with them as well. I think it's a more talented Florida team, but Maryland, when they're playing at their best, they've shown it, and the analytics really have loved them too throughout the year. They can be a top 10 team. So I think that might be the game I'm kind of looking forward to the most. I'm just looking forward to the track meet style of game that we're going to get with BYU and Alabama. But basketball, X's and O's wise, Jimmy and Joe's, everything you want to throw in between, Maryland, Florida is probably the one I'm looking forward to the most.
There's 16 teams that remain. How many teams can you make the case that they can win 4 straight and win it all? How many teams would you want to make that case for?
Yeah, I probably would go, just looking at the schedule in order, Alabama, Florida, Duke, Auburn, Houston. So I'd go 5. I'd go the 4 1s and the 1 2. I think Tennessee gets vulnerable at some point. I think Kentucky has opened my eyes a little bit. I think we could write off Ole Miss. I think Michigan State still has a ceiling. Izzo would probably tell you, too, when it comes down to it, they're not going to be one of the four most talented teams if they do make the Final Four. I don't think Purdue is good enough to win it all. So I'd go the 1 seeds, and then I throw Alabama in there because when Alabama's been at their best, they've been as good, if not better, than anybody.
Yeah, there was a good portion of the season we thought that they would be the fourth other 1 seed, but Florida obviously took that. Do you know the Final Four? Do you think you know who the Final Four are?
The top 4 odds?
Well, no. Do you know who's going to San Antonio?
Do I?
Yeah.
No, because it's March.
Okay. Because I think that's where the conversation needs to start, right? Because there's a little bit more money to be made on some futures and whether or not they can get to the Final Four, to reach a Final Four.
Because where do they have Alabama on the list? Because
to reach a Final Four?
Because I bet you it's pretty low because they would have to get past Duke.
6-1, plus 600.
And what is that on the list of Final Four teams?
Houston, big drop-off. Duke plus 125, Auburn plus 140, Florida plus 160, Houston plus 175, then Bama at 6-1, Texas Tech at 8-1. Wow. Michigan State plus 850, Tennessee 11-1, Maryland 15-1, Purdue 18-1, Arizona 20-1, BYU also at 20-1, Ole Miss at 25, Michigan at 30, Kentucky at 30, Arkansas at 40. That's to reach the Final Four.
When we sat here on Selection Sunday, I did have Texas Tech as one of my 5 teams.
You did?
When you said it could win the national title, I believe I had Auburn, Michigan State, Texas Tech, Houston, and Duke. I think those were my 5.
Really? So here we are, Texas Tech, still living and still fighting.
We have the Final Four ticket as well. Plus, my friends took it plus 650 about a month ago.
Wow. Texas Tech. Okay.
We were looking at them or Maryland at plus 900, and we went with Texas Tech at plus 650.
All right, so as we sit here right now, big-time win over Drake, 77-64. Drake looked good against Missouri. I thought they'd have a little bit of the look there, but they did not. I'm curious, why does Purdue catch heat with their path going up against High Point and McNeese and looking like the much better team in both of those matchups, yet Missouri and Drake in there, UNCW and Drake in there, and no one really wants to bring that up with Texas Tech.
I think because of Texas Tech's overall kind of season and the way that they were at least playing down the stretch, like a lot of people were off on Purdue, and you can make the argument that they've had 2 good matchups for them. But their defensive flaws are still – they played decently against McNeese, but McNeese isn't an offensive team. They're a team that would thrive off defense. High Point hung around. High Point had a chance to cover towards the end. That was never a game that was really a blowout. So I kind of look at it like that. But Texas Tech's overall kind of body of work, they're the only team to beat Houston in the past 3 months. So that goes to say enough about them. And McCaslin's a hell of a coach. JT Toppin, they've got size, they've got length everywhere. So I just think it's everyone's kind of overall picture of them. But it also you can kind of bring into the conversation of what have you done for me lately, and you can argue that Purdue on that side of the bracket has looked just as good as anyone. But you brought it up to a 12 and a 13 seed have been their opponents thus far. I think Houston might punk them this weekend.
All right, as soon as we'll get into the matchups here, we got 8 games to break down. We're going to do it all right here, but I'll allow you to give us the final thought on the opening weekend, and you could either discuss Cal versus Pitino or Pitino and his decision making down the stretch, or everything or anything about Hurley and UConn and that banger of a game against Florida.
Yeah, I think when you kind of talked about it 5 minutes or so ago, just the overall storyline of the weekend, I thought it was St. John's not advancing to the second weekend. I thought they might have got a little bit too high and mighty, and they should have. It was a historic season, Big East regular season by multiple games, won the Big East tournament title as well. But it seemed like they were a little bit too full of themselves down the stretch, and they had one of their worst shooting games of the year, and we said it. If they have a bad shooting game, they are susceptible to a loss. They run into an Arkansas team that's played really well over the past month. I bet you if you went to Torvik right now, over the past month, Arkansas is probably a top 10 team. They're getting guys back healthy. Fierro's coming back in this round. Boogie Flynn, who's a 5-star recruit, came back and has been a big help. So that is a very talented Arkansas team. I wasn't shocked at all, but I think that is one of the stories at St. John's for all the hype that they were getting. And a lot of people had them as national champions to not make it past the second weekend. Definitely the biggest disappointment so far in the tournament.
All right, let's go ahead and dive into it here, Beef. And as I said, great games in front of us. We've already set the table. Let's go ahead and hit it. See if we can cash in. First of all, how has your tournament been without giving us the exact breakdown here?
It was great in the early going, and then the New Mexico Marquette over put a dent. But we had a great first day and a half, really, and now we're kind of
in AC
back to zero.
So boys were buzzing in AC.
Oh yeah, Pat started out. I think he said 19-5 at one point.
Stop.
Yeah. But we all took a big hit on the New Mexico because we got everyone that we were with to do it.
And what was the play?
And it was a minimum $100 buy-in.
Wow.
Yeah, 153.5, and I think it finished around like 146 or so.
Oh, that will get you.
Yep.
But the boys were buzzing in AC, and you needed a whole weekend to recover. Did you miss any, you miss all the games on Saturday and Sunday?
No, I watched all the games. I went to bed at halftime of Michigan State, New Mexico.
Okay,
that's when I went to bed.
All right, we'll sleep when we're dead. Here we go. Let's hit some games here as far as Sweet 16 is concerned. We open up shop Thursday evening, 7:09 p.m. We've had some movement. It looks like it's coming back down slightly, if I'm not mistaken. Bama 5.5-point favorites here. 175.5 is our total. I think 173.5 is the current highest total.
Really?
In a NCAA tournament game.
I think that was within one of the past 2 years as well.
Yeah, it has to be. So here we are. They're holding at 175.5. Can you make this number high enough? Is that the cliche here?
Yeah, I think you got to just take the over in this one because I made the joke earlier. They should play that game with a 15-second shot clock. Like, I don't think they're going to need the last 15 seconds every possession. That's how quick they're going to go. So I'm going to take the over in that one, but I think I'm actually going to take Bama as well. BYU's a hell of a team. They can really shoot the ball, but it's a game that Bama is built for, and I don't know if BYU has the guys to go guy for guy with Bama, if that makes sense. It kind of reminds me of 2 years or last year in the tournament. Bama played Charleston. Everyone's like, oh, Charleston's used to playing in the 80s and 90s as well. But when you get to match up against these athletes from Alabama and you want to go play their style, the way that they play every single day, and you don't have quite as many dudes as them, I think it's going to come back to haunt them. Revisit this story next year when BYU brings in the number one recruit in the country, AJ DeBonza. That could be a different story, and I think BYU, as long as Kevin Young sticks around, that's a program not to mess with going forward. But I do think Bama kind of just wears them out as that game goes on. So I like the over, and I think I'm going to take Alabama minus a 5.5 as well.
So if we're hearing words of Rutgers paying their picks $10.3 million essentially to play out there, and they got 2 top 5 picks going in the NBA draft. How much did they pay? BYU pay to have the number 1 overall pick come on out there? You think?
I heard 7.
Wow.
But it's also like when he signed on, I think he did it on First Take of all shows. Yeah. He had like a Red Bull jacket, like a Red Bull hat. So he's getting money coming in from elsewhere. But the Utah Jazz owner is a BYU alum, so he's the kind of the main guy shelling out the money out there. Also, be very interesting if he found his way to the Utah Jazz next year. But that's a story for this time next year.
All right, yeah, that was the rumor that we were hearing about Rutgers. So hey, look, get your money where you can. All right, let's keep it moving. So BYU, Alabama. I am kind of in agreement with you. I think this is where the road ends for BYU. They're tough, though. It wouldn't shock me if like you said, the madness. Like, anything is possible. Mm-hmm. I never thought St. John's would forget how to shoot point-blank layups.
Yeah.
And they couldn't convert any of them. So if they're not falling, anybody can get beat. But
Bama could go out there and make 3 threes. The same thing. And BYU could go out there and have a really hot shooting game. But if they are going, I think, back and forth at each other, shot for shot, I think Bama just kind of wears them out by the end.
Which is the expectation. So over 175 will be played for you?
Yeah, definitely, just because I think it's going to be tennis match.
I mean, what's the final score?
98-88, something in that ballpark. Does that get over? That gets over by half?
Yeah. Not by much, I didn't think. All right. Well, look, that's the game that I'm definitely eyeing up. Of course, it's the first one. As far as totals are concerned, it's the cliche, and it normally is true when you do pull it out in these matchups. They can't make the number high enough. Mm-hmm. Let's go ahead. Next tip here. We're heading out to San Francisco, Maryland, and Florida. 6.5. Florida favorite here. 157.5 is our total in this one. As I said, 7:39 p.m. Florida looking great. And the first buzzer beater as far as Maryland is concerned, and advancing in that game against Colorado State. Of course, the last time we saw Florida was in that awesome matchup against UConn. Got a little dicey down the stretch. UConn somewhat choked, won't deny that, but at the end of the day, it's really tough to beat Florida, a really damn good team, and we're not surprised that they're here at this point in time. Are we surprised that Maryland is here, and what is your expectation this one, 6.5?
I'm not surprised that Maryland's here, and I still hear people kind of talking about the Willard chatter, potentially going to Villanova. Think about how many players on this Maryland team that's really even going to impact. Like, they have multiple seniors on this team. Derek Queen is a one-and-done as well. Like, these guys should all just be focused on the here and now and not, the future of the coach potentially leaving. This is a game that I'm going to actually probably not bet pregame, but look to get in live, because I do think Florida has the depth as well to kind of wear down this Maryland team. And Maryland gets out to hot starts a lot this year. They are a team that depends on their starting five a lot. But I do think over the course of the game, Florida could kind of wear them down. So what is it right now, 6.5?
6.5.
Yeah, it's probably not a number that I would like in this moment, but I do think Maryland is a team that could get out to an early lead, and you could get Florida at like a 2.5 instead, and I would probably be more comfortable taking that risk, kind of taking it live. So that's my kind of expectation for that game right now. Not something that I'm looking to play pregame necessarily.
All right. As far as the total is concerned, coming in there at that high number, 157.5. Any idea on that one?
157.5. Well, I probably would lean towards the under there. Florida is a very explosive offensive team, but they do have the defensive capability as well to make that game ugly. And Maryland, it just goes back to, I think they're just going to fall apart at one point, and shots might just not fall. So I'd probably lean towards the under. I do think Florida matches up really well. They got the size on the front court to kind of limit their Maryland's offensive game, and then they got the guards as well to defend. That game against UConn the other night was a miracle over. It was at the buzzer. I was sitting with three people that hit the over and one guy that lost the under because of that shot. So I think that's more of a defensive game, like a 70 to 67, somewhere in that type of ballpark.
All right. Pause. 1 second. I'm going to go upstairs real quick. Don wanted to say goodnight. Yo! Beef's gonna help me care. Like, yeah, fuck. All right, here you go. It's 283 even. 3. Still, we got 8 a.m. All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, on to the next one. Here we go into the evening hours, 9:39 p.m. Arizona and Duke. 9.5 point spread, 153.5. Do you want to see an upset? Do you want to see Duke advance here? Where are you at, Beef?
I just want to see Caleb Love, see what he has to offer. I don't know if you caught that post-game clip the other night, but they asked what he's got to do to beat Duke, and you could tell he was mulling something over in his head, and he didn't want to say it on a live camera, but that's a guy that has a hatred for Duke and has owned them the past few times that he's played them. So I'm very interested to see that matchup. Duke, the good thing about them with that matchup, they got multiple guys that they can throw at him and try and frustrate him. And he kind of fits into what we talked about with Alabama, talked about with BYU. Like, Caleb Love is going to keep shooting regardless. Like, Alabama's going to keep shooting their threes, BYU will keep shooting their threes, and Caleb Love will keep shooting no matter what the circumstances. But I'm interested to see how he does. But I just think you can't bet against Duke. The sample size is too large. It's translated. I know they played Mount St. Mary's and then they played Baylor. But even without Cooper Flagg, besides the North Carolina game that came down to the wire, they've dominated every single team in their path. I feel like it would be stupid at this point to bet against Duke. It could be another game that you look to maybe get in live. Maybe Caleb Love comes out hot. but he just continues to shoot and shoots them out of the game. So if you made me take a pick on it right now, I would take Duke minus the 9.5. What's the total coming in on that one?
Total on Duke and Arizona 153.5.
Yeah, it's one I would probably take the over with as well, because if Arizona does try to speed it up, Duke can play that way too. So I think both kind of favor Duke in this game, but I will take Duke minus 9.5.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. You brought up UConn, and it feels like they were 12-0 as far as ATS was concerned in 2 straight runs.
Yeah, they finished 13-0 against the spread.
Yeah,
because they covered against Florida too.
It's just like, look, if you are, you're right. If you are that dominant of a team, and they've shown us so far throughout the course of a full season, of course, during this tournament right now, I don't think you could second guess this. So 9.5 is a lot of points, though. That is a lot of points.
We've been saying that about Duke like all season. They were like, even I know it was the ACC, but they were like 19, 20-point favorites like down the stretch, and they were still covering those games like easy. They were covering with the backups, the walk-ons in for the last 2-3 minutes. They were still covering those numbers. So Arizona's been a very fickle team as well. When they've been good, they've been really good, but they can also go out there and lay duds, and that goes hand in hand with Caleb Love. And I think Duke has the guards to slow him down a little bit. So I just think he might shoot them out of the game in the second half.
Yeah, I'm not going to bet against Duke here. There's no way. I don't want to give double digits, but I'll go as high as 9.5, where they're at right now. I'll give that and ride with Duke, and they have just been incredible to watch. They've been a machine. You got 3 kids that are going to be picked top 10, bare minimum, could be potentially top 6, top 7 picks, all 3 of them. We know how good Cooper is. Matter of fact, I don't think Cooper's being – honestly, I don't think he's being talked about at the level he should be being discussed right now.
Yeah, I think the thing with him and what I've came around to like the entire season, he doesn't really have that one like trait that I feel like people are just like, oh, like he's a 45% 3-point shooter, or he 15 rebounds a game. Like he doesn't have like the one thing that stands out the most, or he's not a guy that goes out there and scores 25, 30 a game. He just does everything really well, and it's never flashy, but you look up at the end of the game and he's got 22, 13, and 7, and they just won by 35 points. Like it's just hard to dispute it. But he's going to be such a good player because he's doing all these things so well at such a young age that you could throw him right into an NBA team, and he's going to make everyone around him better. And that's what the best players do. Like, I'm not comparing him to LeBron, but we've never really have thought about LeBron as, oh, he's the best scorer. But you look up at the end of the day, and he's got 28, 29 points, and everyone else around him is better, and his stat line is padded. That Cooper Flag has that similar type of game, and he's just going to bring the winning formula to every team he goes to.
Yeah, winning formula is what he does. You're exactly right. Plays defense great.
Yep.
I mean, that's one of the things that I think about from when you asked me about Cooper Flag. His game first is how great he is on defense. But, of course, we know how skilled he is on offense. He's got the big posterizing dunks that we all look back on from the season. And he'll attract the defense.
Yep.
He can lay it off. He's tremendous. My point is, I think next year when he gets drafted, it always depends on where you end up. Like, I don't want to see him end up with the Wizards. Sam believes he can turn the Wizards around, which I think, wow, that's saying something. But at the end
Wizards got some good young guys.
Yeah, they do. They do. There was an article in Sports Illustrated, I want to say it was, where they were ranking about destinations, and they put the Sixers at number 2. I don't think we need to make that case. Like, we know how crazy it would be to have Cooper Flag.
My Tankathon spin got them today, number 1.
I think they're 4 or 5.
5 right now.
As far as odds are concerned, or percentage that it could happen. Anything's possible. It's lottery balls. It is what it is at the end of the day, or ping pong balls. But what I would say is, from my point about Cooper, was that this kid, when you talk about how great the NBA is, and you talk about top 5 players, they're all international players. And we're not gonna beat around the bush here because we're 2 white dudes. But this is a white dude playing at this type of level and could be potentially one of the better players in the NBA and American. Like, this is insane.
Yep.
So my point is, I don't think it could be Caitlin Clark-esque.
Yeah.
Like, that's the ceiling to me. Dude, I don't know what's going to happen where he ends up, whatever pick. Like, if he ends up with the Charlotte Hornets, nobody wins in Charlotte. If he ends up with DC, who has won there in the last 40 years, right? So I don't know what could potentially be as far as that is concerned. But his star, like I think this dude can lift basketball up in America if he is at his ceiling at the next level. And why would you think that it's not going to happen?
Yeah, because, I mean, I'm just trying to think.
He's 18.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, like, the last, like, what you're saying, a white American dude to I can't even.
At that level?
The only two guys I have come to my head are Luka, and he's not American, and Dirk.
You're correct, not American.
I can't. Larry Bird?
Yeah, Larry Bird would be absolutely
Like
the one. Of course, you got Stockton back in the day as well, sure. But, look, I'm not trying to poo-poo a guy like J.J. Redick's created a great career.
Yeah, but that's
But we're not talking, like, great. You're right. You got to go to Larry Bird. You got to go to McHale. Those are top 75 all-time players. You're right. Like,
but how many times, though, have we heard, like, with these number one guys in, like, recent years, the best guy since LeBron? Like, have we heard that about?
Seems like it's happening a lot.
Andrew Wiggins,
Yep.
Simmons,
Yep.
Zion.
Yep.
I think that's it, kind of thrown in there, but none of them have got anywhere close to.
And I
to
mean
that.
this with all due love and respect, but like a guy like SGA who's having an incredible season, who is the MVP, like he's so far off from LeBron.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
It's like I think we need to stop saying that. How about that?
Yeah.
We could all just stop bringing up LeBron James's name, period. I think that would be all, we'd all gain something from it, especially Stephen A. But
even like to just switch sports real quick to the quarterbacks, like the best quarterback since Andrew Luck. Like I understand Andrew Luck's career got cut short by injuries, but still, like he had a good, nice little like 6-year career. LeBron James is, you can make the argument, the first or second best player in NBA history. Like to say this is the next him, talking about these people, like that's such a ceiling to climb. And like I think Cooper Fly's gonna be really good, but do I think he's ever gonna reach that level? Yeah. Probably not.
No, and that's my point. It's like, all right, so if he does end up with the San Antonio Spurs, maybe
That would be fun.
maybe. But other than that, like even if he ends up with the Sixers, something is going to go wrong. So I'm not even going to get caught up in that. All right, next game up, fourth and final one on a Thursday evening. Arkansas and Texas Tech, 5.5, 148.5. I think a lot of eyes have opened up with that number being as high as it is, 5.5 in favor of Texas Tech. But to you, in your credit, you've had Texas Tech. You got them going even further than this, so you're not surprised to see them in this spot.
Yeah, I think I like Arkansas plus the 5.5 at least in this spot. Like I could see this one be one of the games of the tournament, come down to a buzzer beater, come down to a final defensive stop. Because Arkansas, their main deal throughout the season, they were never fully healthy. They had one guy would come back, one guy would go out. Boogie Flan's back in the lineup now. Adu Thiero's coming back, who is a great body to match up with JT Toppin. They're going to have to throw multiple bodies at him. You could look at a guy like Jonas Adu. He is playing his behind off at the center spot for them. DJ Wagner over the past month has been awesome. Like, Cal's gotten these guys playing their best ball. Billy Richmond, a freshman from Camden, you look at his box scores over the past 6-7 games, he's playing his tail off. Energy and effort all over the floor. Like, it's a team that's fully bought in and playing together at the end of the year. They're a team that you don't want to see at this stage of the season. I still like Texas Tech probably to pull it out at the end, but I really like Arkansas catching the 5.5. I think they could certainly be a live dog and win that one outright as well. I have my survivor pick still. Texas Tech's a name that people have been throwing out, but I definitely think Arkansas can win that game outright, so I'm going to be staying away for that at least.
Irk the hell out of me. I'm out. I changed my mind. I took St. John's, and I had BYU in my mind going up against Wisconsin.
Really?
Wisconsin day one. Day two, I think I had Alabama. Day three, I said, all right, let's go. And we changed last second from BYU to St. John's, and here we are. Yeah, Arkansas, for my money. Look, you know the type of skill that they have. Calipari's got them ready. He knows what's going to happen already to prepare them for the surroundings, the hoopla, everything else, the noise that they're going to have to deal with. They're so prepared, and you could tell that just like St. John's game, they weren't scared of the moment, right? They were attacking. They got lucky a lot, no denying that. But at the end, they were shooting threes, making them. Yep. It was an ugly game at times, but you got to give them credit, man. They owned that game essentially start to finish. I mean, there was a little bit of that push in that second half, but other than that was Arkansas's game. So, yeah, that's a team that's ready. They got some length. They got some size. They're definitely not scared at the moment, but man, odds makers to me are like telling me that Texas Tech is the play here.
Yeah, and it goes back to like the UNC Wilmington game for Texas Tech wasn't that convincing. Like you were saying, why is Texas Tech getting all this love and like Purdue's getting hate? Like Texas Tech hasn't blown the doors off me in this tournament so far. And I commented on the Instagram video earlier. If you look at Arkansas's roster, and I know recruiting rankings like don't matter and stuff now, but you can make an argument other than Duke, they're the most talented team in the tournament left. They have multiple 5-stars. They have like 2 or 3 of the top transfers from the past year as well. And like they just got a 5-star guy back that's basically been out for 2.5 months at this point. They are such a talented squad. They're, like you said, not afraid of the moment. Duke might be the only team that is more talented than them. And it's like becoming more and more to me like that Arkansas team can go to the Final Four. Like you look at Auburn at the top, they have maybe one guy that started his career at Auburn. Like they're such a more talented overall squad. Maybe might be the best overall team, but such a talented squad that they can go shot for shot with anyone. And like you said, they're not going to be afraid in this matchup. So I might have even talked myself into Arkansas potentially winning this game.
Wow.
And then they could have the matchup with a Maryland team that they could definitely beat. I think they would be like a 2.5-point dog. And then Florida, they've played Florida this year. That game would probably be a pretty close spread as well. So Arkansas, I'm starting to talk myself into being a live dog this weekend.
See, and if you believe in anything as far as Arkansas is concerned, there's a lot of money to be made.
100-1.
Yeah, on them Hogs, man. Get on board, John Daly. Light them up. All right, let's head to Friday, and we open up 7 o'clock. Ole Miss and Michigan State here. As I said, battle of 2 great coaches. It's March. You got to go Izzo. Not so fast, my friend. Ole Miss Ole Miss was the team for me as we went down the list of the SEC. Maybe I should have 7 for 7 or 7 out of 14 split. There wasn't really any surprises out of that mix of who advanced as far as the 7 out of the 14. We knew how great of a conference it was all season long, but there were going to be some teams that maybe teams were better than the others. And I thought Ole Miss was a team that was better than some in that conference. And here we are. They're still playing. I think that they are a live dog here. I won't be shocked if they win. Who cares about the bracket? Let's talk here as we're previewing these games. I'm going to have a hard time picking against Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is the play here, but it's Michigan State in March.
3.5 is it right now? Yeah, I mean, you look at Ole Miss played damn well against UNC, and that game was over by halftime the other night. They got down early. I want to say it was 8-2, 10-2 or something like that. After that, they were hot. They could shoot the ball really well. And they've got the guards to match up with Michigan State. Michigan State might have a little bit more inside. Like Ole Miss, the tallest guy they're throwing out there is like 6'8", 6'9". So look for Michigan State to maybe pound it inside. I think Michigan State's going to want to slow that one down. I'm not sure what's the total in that one.
Michigan State,
yeah,
144.5.
That's one I actually kind of like the under, and I think Michigan State's going to try and play that game in the half court because I think if Ole Miss gets loose and gets going up and down the floor, that could be a long day for them. So I'm kind of looking at the under in that one. But you look at Chris Beard and his success in the tournament. This is a guy that's gone to a national title game. He's also like you could argue Izzo over any coach left in the tournament. I've said it multiple times. I've said it to you. If you're giving me one game, Chris Beard has to be on your list of 5 coaches to go out there and win one basketball game. He's a damn good coach. He's got these guys confident and playing well. I probably am going to take them as well as a dog, but I think the under is the play because I think Michigan State tries to muck that one up and play it really slow because I think Ole Miss could, if they get hot and get in a hurry, like we saw the other night against Iowa State, that game could get out of hand quickly.
Yeah, and look, Michigan State runs deep. They got a lot of players coming off the bench. They like to mix it up, so slowing it down, I could see that happening as well. Just Ole Miss, man, that's a good team that can fill it up and get on a little bit of a streak as they did against UNC. I love it. As we were live at Friday for the Penn Club, they had this dude come up to me and was like, so who do you like? And I gave him 2 plays, and the first one, he's like, oh, no, I like UNC. I'm looking at him like, what the hell did you ask?
Yeah.
And then Bowman comes through. I won't tell you about the second one, but the first one did come through. No, that was Oklahoma. It was Oklahoma UConn, and I was very unfortunate not to cover that number. I was pissed off about that.
Jersey boys hit our player prop in that one.
Yeah.
Jeremiah.
There you go. All right, next game up, let's talk about 2 more SEC teams, Kentucky and Tennessee. I said this the other day. These two teams have played twice already. Kentucky 2-0 in that matchup, and now Tennessee is favored by 4.5. Huh? What's that all about?
I saw a stat today. I forget how large the sample size was, but the whole thing about team not winning the season series 3 times. It was like 72% of the time the team that won the first 2 games wins a third. And Vegas just, I think, disrespects this Kentucky team. They were just a dog to that Illinois team, and Illinois made a couple runs, but I think we could tell Kentucky was clearly the better squad. And Kentucky forcing turnovers, playing some really good defense. It reminds me of previous Cal teams. I was just like, they kind of just figured it out throughout the season as the season went along, always had the talent, has the scoring. But now they're buying in on the defensive end. Like Lamont Butler, he's back in the lineup. He's one of, if not the best defensive guard in the country. Amari Williams, one of, if not the best rim protectors in the entire country. I like Kentucky to win this one. I had this in my bracket originally, not a shell shocker with the 3 versus 2, but I like Kentucky to win. I said at the beginning of the tournament, Kentucky, when they're at their best, is as good as any team, any 4 teams in the country, and could be the representative of their region. So I'm probably going to go with Kentucky on the money line, actually, in that one.
Man, yeah, it's hard to pick against Kentucky, especially, as I said, from the season success that they had, and they have looked the part so far throughout the course of this tournament. Tennessee, got to give them credit as well, but 4.5, I do think Kentucky can win this game outright. So I'm going to take Kentucky here, and especially if Cal's playing. Now he's playing the night before. So
on the other side,
if Cal wins at Arkansas, Kentucky has to win.
Yep.
So
parlay them both together. What do you get on that one?
Might as well do it. Exactly. Kentucky and Arkansas.
What, they're catching 4.5 and 5.5?
That's gotta
you
pay
probably
them.
get like plus 650.
It's a good payday right there. That might be worth a little flyer on Thursday and Friday. All right, next one up, Michigan and Auburn. Will the overall number 1 seed Auburn take a hit on Friday night against Michigan? Be 9.5 point spread, 153.5 is the total here. Auburn's look good. They played really well in that second half. You could tell how good they are as far as the personnel is concerned. But Michigan has been a damn good team as well and played well throughout the course of a tough Big Ten schedule against some good teams, good opponents. Not perfect. Auburn's a better team, but 9.5 points as far as spread is concerned.
Yeah, I like Auburn to win that game, but I'm hard pressed to say that they blow them out and they cover that 9.5. Because I mean, you look at Michigan, you see San Diego. People are saying like if they didn't play Michigan, they probably would still be playing right now. Like they think they would have beaten Texas A&M and beaten the Sweet 16. All the analytics love them as well. And that was a really impressive second half by Michigan the other night. They were down, they looked dead in the water, and they come and blow them out. And remember, too, what they just did before, winning the Big Ten tournament as well. They're playing, you can argue, their best basketball this season. They struggled down the stretch with turning the basketball over, but they've cleaned their turnovers up down the stretch, and look at them now. They're here. And you look at Janai Broome. He struggled in recent weeks when he's had size. Kalkbrenner is a different animal, probably the best defensive big in the entire sport. But Janai Broome struggled in that one. They've got 2 7-footers, Michigan, that can throw at them. Why can't they make that a game, make that game competitive? Because Auburn, too, like they were in a battle with Alabama State in the first one. Sure, they pulled away a little bit against Creighton the other night, but we talked about it, too. They were kind of limping into the tournament. So if you're looking for some action on the spread in that one, I think you have to look at Michigan plus the 9.5.
Yeah, Michigan, they do have some freaks, man. They got some size.
Yeah.
The boys came out there and just long.
Yep.
And it was like, uh-oh, dude, this is a good damn squad right here.
And Golden's shown, I mean, over multiple years now, whether it's at Michigan, whether it's at FAU, he can hang with these bigs in the NCAA tournament. He was at FAU before. Danny Wolf played and beat Auburn last year with Yale. Like, he's been in this situation before. So why can't Michigan go out and win that game outright? I probably am still going to ride with Auburn as the winner, but I think Michigan plus the 9.5, I think that they certainly make that a game.
Yeah, they pulled down 43 total boards against A&M in that first round or second round matchup. A&M pulled down 36, so 10 more rebounds in that game. That was another thing that irked me about the St. John's game because they out-rebounded Arkansas by 10, I want to say, on the offensive glass, and still to come up short the way that they did. Just brutal.
They out-missed layup them, though.
Oh, my goodness, did they ever.
At the rim. And your best player goes 3 of 20.
Yeah, brutal. Very brutal. All right, final game here on the card. Friday night, Purdue and Houston here. 8.5 point spread. Of course, Houston has looked really dang good all tournament long, all season long. 132.5 is our total. Purdue, a little surprised to see them in this spot. Everybody, a lot of people out there had expectations that High Point was going to knock them out in that first game. I think a lot of people wanted to see that. Painter's a good coach, man. I get it. He's been a little unlucky, but he's got success. His resume is there. He's got a ton of victories. Made it to a national championship game. There are plenty of flaws with his resume. Don't get me wrong. I think you could look at a lot of coaches who probably make that case. But Painter, look, 8.5 here. Could he junk it up? Could he come up with something to make this a ball game? Or does Houston have too much defense as far as Purdue is concerned, and this could get ugly and Houston rolls on?
Yeah, the thing with Houston is that suffocating defense that you play, that they play, that you alluded to. But when you look at Purdue, might have the best point guard in the country in Braden Smith. I believe he was first-team All-American. If not, he was second-team. So they have the guard to at least run the show. If he plays well, he could certainly make that a game. I definitely would look at the under in that one. I'm not sure what that number comes in, but that is a game that is
132.5.
Yeah, I think that one is going to be played ultimately in the half court because Purdue, I think that's really the only chance that they have. Run their sets and just try and get as many good looks as they can. I don't think they're going to be able to out-athlete Houston in transition, but this is one that if I do make it to Friday night, I haven't used Houston yet. They're the team that I have penciled right now as my survivor pick. Thursday night, I'm kind of struggling for my pick right now of who I would have, but I am looking at eyeing up Houston there to end out Friday and hopefully make it to the leader for my survivor. But I really like the under in that game. I think that one is played like 68 to 60 something kind of in that ballpark, and we see a half court kind of lull on our Friday night there.
All right, there's the 8 games broken down on the DraftKings card. Of course, we got a lot to choose from over on DraftKings Sportsbook to reach Elite 8, Final 4, the final. Team versus field. What do we got? Team versus field. Alabama. Team versus field. Give me a team, a dark horse team in your mind.
To win it all?
Yeah.
Arkansas.
Arkansas is going to be a payday. They don't have them listed here.
They don't even have them listed.
Not even versus the field.
What about Tech?
They got Duke and Auburn versus the field. Field minus 155. Duke and Auburn plus 125. Houston's your worst enemy on that one.
Yeah.
Houston versus the field. Houston versus the field. If you think Houston's going to win, plus 500 on that one.
But what's the difference between that and like their actual ticket?
Correct. Then you got to go. It's even. Same thing.
Yeah.
So there's no change.
So at that point.
Correct. All right. Look, to reach the final.
Yeah. What about Arkansas to make the championship game?
40 to 1 plus 4,000.
Because I like their match. Like I like their matchup against either Florida or Florida or Maryland. If they get there, and then once they get to the top, they just played Auburn in the SEC tournament down to the wire, and then who would the other one be? Like Michigan State potentially. Yeah. I might be an Arkansas guy this weekend. I might take a stab on it and kind of see where we go because I'm holding the Texas Tech ticket already.
Yep.
So kind of a hedge type spot there. I might just take a swing.
I don't mind it one bit. You know where I'm at with Duke. I already have that ticket ready to go, so I'm holding that one. I'd like to have somebody else get involved here.
I'm holding Houston and Bama from during the season to win it all.
I'd like somebody from that other side,
yeah,
and specifically from that West region. That would be good to get either Florida or Arkansas. I like Arkansas. You're right. I do. We'll see, man. Money to be made. Good luck to everybody out there. Once again, DraftKings Sportsbook. Be sure to use Brace as a promo code. Give Ryan a follow at Orion Coyle 35. And, of course, we're going to be featuring all throughout the course of the week and getting you ready for all these games over the weekend, no matter what day it is, at Fox PHL Gambler on our socials. So be sure to follow us and check us out on our website once again at Fox PHL Gambler.